kind of feel like this story doesn't want me to read it, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm spiteful. Welcome back to Wine and Weird Tales. For the fucking second part of this part. Okay, yeah, n'est-ce pas? But certainly. Logically, therefore, wireless telegraphy was scientifically impossible before Marconi. Radio communication was logically an absurd dream till invention of the vacuum tube made former scientific logic asinine. Yet the principles that underlay these things were known to physicists for years. They simply had not been assembled in their proper order. Let us view this case. Pink cheek on one side. Take by example hibernating animals, the tortoise of our northern climates, the frog, the snake. Every autumn they put by their animation as a housewife folds up summer clothes for winter storage. They appear to die, yet in the spring they sally forth as active as they were before. One not versed in natural law might come upon them in their state of hibernation and say, as you just said, shut up, this is a corpse. His experience would tell him so, yet he would be in error. Or take the fish who freezes in ice. When spring dissolves his icy prison, he swims off in search of food as hungrily as if he had not paused a moment in his quest. The toad, encrusted in a block of slate, such as we see unearthed in coal mines now and then, may have been dead, le bon Dieu only knows how many centuries, yet once released from encasement, and he hops away in search of bugs to fill his little belly. Again, but these are all cold-blooded creatures, I protested. Mammals can't suspend the vital process, not even bears, he interrupted with mock mildness, because he's eternally condescending and just fuck him. Fuck this guy. Or those Indians who, when hypnotized, fall into such deep trances that accredited physicians do not hesitate to call them dead, and are thereafter buried for so long a time that crops of grain are sown and harvested above them, then, disinterred, are reawakened at the hypnotist's command. I answered, nettled. I've never seen such things. Précisément. I have. I do not know how they can be. I only know they are. When things exist, we know that they are so, whether logic favors them or not. One of those people. Yay. Then you think that this preposterous tale is true? That we can thaw this woman out and awaken her after she's lain dead and entombed in ice for almost 20 years? I did not say so. Why, you did too. Yeah, you did, de Grandin. You fucking did. It was you. It was you, not I, who called her dead. Somatically, she may be dead. Clinically dead. In that her heart and, fucking nitpicking. It quivers over the smallest details, like the condescending prick that he is. You yourself have seen such cases revived, even when somatic death has lasted an appreciable time. She was not deceased when animation was suspended, and her body has been insulated from deteriorative changes. I think it possible the vital spark still slumbers dormant and can be revived to flame if we care. If we have care. And luck. The bathroom vigil lasted 5 full days and nights. There seemed a steel-like quality to the icy cataflac that defied summer heat and gently dripping water from the shower alike. As if the ice had stored up extra chill in the long years it lay locked in the frost-bound earth of outer Mongolia, and several times I saw it freeze, the water they dropped on it instead of yielding to the liquid high temperature. At last the casing melted off, and they laid the stiff memorial body in the tub. Then ran a stream of water from the faucet. For 10 hours this was cool, and the gelid body... gelid? The gelid body showed no signs of yielding to it. Fuck. Time after time we felt the stone-hard arms, then hands, the legs and feet that seemed forever, locked in algid rigor mortis, the little flower-like breasts that showed no promise of waking from their frigid unresponsiveness. Indeed, far from responding to the water's thermal action, the frozen body seemed to chill its bath, and we noticed little thread-like lines of ice take form upon the skin, standing stiffly out like oversized mold spores and overlaying the white form with a coat of jewel-bright, quill-like pelage. Excellent, parfait, splendide, magnifique, de Grandin nodded in delight as the ice fur coat took form. The chill is coming forth. We are progressing splendidly. You know so much. When the tiny icicles cleared away, they raised the water's temperature a little, gradually blending it from tepid to blood warm. And 15 hours of immersion in the warmer bath brought noticeable results. Oh, fuck. 15 hours of hot water running. The skin became resilient to the touch. The flesh was firm but flexible. The folded hands relaxed and slipped down to the sides. Slim ankles loosed their interlocking grip, and the feet lay side by side. Behold them, if you please, my friend, de Grandin whispered tensely. Her feet, see how they hold themselves. Well, I responded, what? Has it been so long then since your student days that you do not remember the flaccidity of death? Fuck, shut up. Think of the cadavers which you worked upon. Were their feet like those ones yonder? By blue, they were not. By blue, yeah. They were not. How the fuck do you know? They were prolapsed. They hung down on ankles like extensions of the leg, for their flexor muscles had gone soft and inelastic. These feet stand out at obtuse angles to the legs. Well, précisément, tu parlais, mon ami. It is very well, I think. It may not be a sign of life, but certainly it negates the flaccidness, the flaccidness of death. Yeah, fuck. Okay, this is going to be another part. This story is going to be, in quite a few parts. I'm sorry. Periodically, they pressed the thorax and abdomen, feeling for the hardness of deep-seated frozen organs. This story better fucking pay off at length. I think we can proceed, my friends, de Grandin told us. And we lifted the limp body from the bath and dried it hurriedly with warm, soft towels. De Grandin drew the plugs of cotton from the nostrils and wiped the lips with ether to dissolve the seal of flexible collodion. And this done, he and Askeskov began to rub the skin with heated olive oil, kneading with firm gentleness, massaging downward toward the hands and feet, bending arms and legs, wrists, neck and ankles. Somehow the process repulsed me because it's two disgusting perverts touching, I had seen a similar technique used by embalmers when they broke up rigor mortis, and the certitude of death seemed emphasized by everything they did. Yes, that's why. Now, de gratte, we shall succeed, the Frenchman whispered as he turned the body on its face and knelt over it. Applying his hands to the coastal margins, bearing down with all his might, there was a gentle sighing sound, as of breath slowly exhaled, and Askeskov went pale as death. She lives, he whispered. Oh, Nikakova. And then he said something in Russian. I felt a sob of sympathy rise in my throat. Too often I had heard that vital stimulation, when air was forced between a corpse's lips by sudden pressure, no physician of experience, no morgue attendant, no embalmer can be fooled by, mon Dieu, I think, de Grandin's soft, excited whisper sounded from the bed. He had leant back, releasing pressure on the corpse, and as he did so, I was startled to observe a swelling of the lower thorax. Of course, it could be nothing but mechanical reaction, the natural tendency of air to rush into an emptied space, I told myself, but... ... Anyway, we're going to stop there for this reading, because I think my fucking phone's about to cut the shit again. Cut the shit? So by cut the shit, I obviously mean do exactly what it just fucking did then. And now I'm going to read 8 more minutes because I want to get to the end of this fucking story. It's pissing me off. It's probably pissing you off too. And yes, let's continue. Let's go. Let's do this fucking thing. He bent forward swiftly, pushing down upon the body with both hands, retained the pressure for a moment, then swung back again, forward, back, 20 times a minute by the swiftly clicking second hand of his wristwatch. He went through the movements of the Schaefer method of forcing respiration, patiently, methodically, almost mechanically. I shook my head despairingly. This hopeless labour, this unfounded optimism. Quick, my friend, the Supperlenrium, he gasped. Put 15 minims in a syringe and hurry, if you please. I can feel a little, so small stirring here, but we must perform a cardiocentesis. I hastened to the surgery to prepare the Supperlenrium extract, hopeless as I knew the task to be. No miracle of medicine could revive a woman dead and buried almost 20 years. I had not spent a lifetime as a doctor to no purpose. Death was death, and this was death if I had ever seen it. De Grandin poised, the trocar's point against the pallid flesh beneath the swell of the left breast, and I saw the pale skin dimple as though it winced instinctively. He thrust with swift restlessness, pressure, relentless pressure, and I marvelled at the skill which guided pointed hollow needle straight into the heart, yet missed the tangled maze of vein and artery. Don't give him credit. Stop it. I don't know why people like him. Askeskov was on his knees, hands clasped, eyes closed, prayers in the strangled Russian gushing from his vivid lips. De Grandin pressed the plunger home, shooting the astringent mixture deep into a heart which had not felt warm blood in half a generation. A quick spasmodic shudder shook the pallid body, and I could have sworn I saw the lowered eyelids flutter. The Frenchman gazed intently in the calm, immobile face of a moment. Nope. Immobile face a moment. Then, non, he whispered tensely. Pardieu, I say you shall. I will it. Snatching up a length of sterile gauze, he folded it across her lightly parted lips, drew a deep breath, and laid his mouth to hers. I saw his temple veins stand out as he drained his lungs of air, raised his head to gasp more breath, then bent and breathed again, straight in the corpse's mouth. Tears stood in his eyes. His cheeks seemed losing every trace of colour. He was becoming cyanotic? Stop it, de Grandin, I exclaimed. It's no use, man, you're simply something in French, he gasped exultantly. She breathes, she lives, my friends. We have vanquished 20 years of death. Something again in French. Oh, embrasse-moi. That didn't really sound... Anyway, before I realized what he was about, he had thrown both arms around me and planted a resounding kiss on both cheeks, then served the Russian in like manner. Nikakova, something in Russian, joy of life, sobbed Askakov. The almost golden lashes fluttered for an instant, then a pair of grey-green eyes looked vaguely toward the sobbing man, unfocused, unperceiving, like the eyes of newborn infants struggling with the mystery of light. It was impossible, absurd, and utterly preposterous. Such a thing could not have happened, but there it was. In the upper chamber of my house, I had seen a woman called back from the grave. Sealed in a tomb of ice for almost 20 years. Yeah, we know. Mentioned it like 5 fucking times. Probably 3. Sealed in a tomb, 20 years. This woman lived and breathed and looked at me. No, she didn't. Physically, she mended rapidly. We increased her diet of aminoblends, milk and brandy to light broth and well-cooked porridges in 2 days. She was able to take solid food within a week. But for all this, she was but an infant magnified in size. Her eyes were utterly unfocused. She seemed unable to do more than tell the difference of light and shade. When we spoke to her, she gave no answer. The only sounds she made were little whimpering noises, not cries of pain or fear, but merely the mechanical responses of vocal cords reacting to the breath. 2 nurses were installed, and de Grandin scarcely left her side. But as the time drew out, and it became increasingly apparent that the patient whom he nursed was nothing but a living organism without volition or intelligence, the lines about his eyes appeared more deeply etched each day. Wow, it's just really fucking sad. Okay. A month went by without improvement. Then one day he came fairly bouncing into the study. "Trowbridge, mon vieux, come and see, but step softly, I implore you," he commanded, clutching at my elbow and dragging me upstairs. At the bedroom door he paused and nodded, smiling broadly, like a showman who invites attention to a spectacle. Askakov knelt by the bed, and from the piled-up pillows Nikakova looked at him, but there was nothing infantile about her gaze. Nikakova, something in Russian. "Joy of life," he whispered, and "Serge, my love, my soul, my life," came her muttered answer. Her pale hands lay like small white flowers in his clasp, and when he leant to her, her kisses flecked his cheeks, his brow, his eyelids like lightly fluttering butterflies. "Tiens," de Grandin murmured, "our snow queen has awakened, it seems, and frosts of burial have melted, and... Come away, my friend. This is not for us to see." He tweaked my sleeve to urge me down the hall. The lovers' mouths were joined in a fierce, passionate embrace, and the little Frenchman turned away his eyes as though to look on them were profanation? Profanation? Yeah. I didn't realize that was a word, but I guess it is. Alright, 1 more minute, let's go. Nikakov seemed intent on catching up the thread of interrupted life, and she and Serge with de Grandin spent long hours shopping, going to the theatre, visiting museums and art galleries, or merely taking in the myriad scenes of city life. The semi-nudity of modern styles at first appalled her. But she soon revised her pre-war viewpoint and took to the unstockinged, corsetless existence of the day as if she had been born when Verdun and the Argonne were but memories instead of the reign of Nicholas the Last. When she finally had her flowing pale gold hair, where the fuck am I? Cut short and permanently waved in little tight laid poodle curls, she might have passed as twin to any of the million of the current crop of high school seniors. She had an oddly incomplete mode of expression, almost devoid of pronouns, and thickly strewn with the participles, a shy but bra-shaped sense of humour, and an almost infinite capacity for sweets. Alright, we're going to leave it at that, because it's going to cut out again soon. Thanks for joining me for this. Join you again. Sure. Fuck, can't even think straight. Next reading, and it's going to be done.